Hey guys, and today we're gonna be reviewing every movie I saw in April and May. Yup, every single one. COVID-19 strikes again. Because of all the movie delays over the past month and a half, I only saw 2 movies. Well, I guess 3. If you want to know my thoughts on My Spy, it's just really average. If you've seen the trailer, you've basically seen this movie. There's no need to watch it. Anyways, today we're going to review both of those movies because I got nothing better to do. Got it? Good. Let's start with Trolls 2, which is not very good. I don't think it's terrible. It's not even that bad. Heck, we got stuff that was a lot worse last year, but it's far from even being good. The story isn't offensively bad or anything, it's just a pretty generic go from place to place kind of story. I actually really like the world building with the different types of trolls who each have their own kind of music, but instead of going deeper into what each kind of troll's like, the film has subplots. One of them is about the giraffe troll from the first movie trying to find who he really is, which is probably the better of the 2 subplots because it does tie into the story at least a little bit, but still it's not a great subplot because I didn't really like this character and I didn't want to know more about him. And then there's the other subplot which made me want to break something. I know 80% of animated movies nowadays have this kind of subplot, but this is just really annoying. Also, I found this piece of marketing where they use a really cringy joke.
Other than being your friend.
Don't hold back.
And you guessed it, this subplot leads to the 3rd act breakup, which is one of the most forced I've ever seen. Well, the story is kind of bad, but how are the characters? Well, do you remember that fat James Corden troll from the first movie? Well, he's back, and he's annoying as ever. He has practically no personality outside of lol, he's fat, and lol, he's stupid. Not all comic relief characters have to have, like, story arcs or anything, but when they have a personality, it usually helps. Heck, some are remembered fondly because of their distinct personalities. Thankfully, the writers ran out of jokes for this character, so they just made him leave in the second half of the movie. He's without a doubt the most annoying character in this movie. And also Poppy. And also the giraffe troll. Wow, now that I think about it, this movie was really annoying.
Yeah, I'm really gonna need you to shut up.
Another thing that makes these characters annoying, specifically Poppy, is how they keep hammering in the message. What's the message, you may ask? Well, it's that our differences make the world a better place. Sound familiar? The hammering in part is probably most comparable to Ugly Dolls, which is just ironic because people call that movie a Trolls ripoff. In both movies, they have the characters say the message out loud multiple times instead of letting the audience figure it out through the narrative. Well, at least both movies handle their messages differently. The villain in Trolls 2 just wants to turn everyone the same, while the villain in Ugly Dolls tries to kill anyone who's different. But with all that said, I think it goes without saying that the animation here is gorgeous. There's so much color and attention to detail, but not to the point where it gets annoying. I don't think this is the best animation from DreamWorks, but it's definitely top 5. And the songs, even if they're kind of forgettable, honestly, are actually pretty good, except for all the modern ones they use in this really cringy scene, and if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So overall, if the writers cut out all the annoying characters and subplots, then this actually could have been a decent movie. But since it does have those problems, it turned into just a bad but not completely unwatchable sequel. If you really like the first Trolls, which I don't, then you're definitely gonna love this movie. But I even think that movie is slightly better than this. So yeah, Trolls 2 gets a 4.5 out of 10. And I will never think about this movie again. So now let's move on to the better of these 2 movies, but not by that much, which is Scoob! That's not a dumb title at all. Also, even though the movie is called Scoob, this doesn't entirely feel like a Scooby-Doo movie. Almost all of this movie is about Scooby and Shaggy joining forces with the Blue Falcon to save the world. There are some mystery elements that feel like Scooby-Doo, but not to the point where it's completely noticeable. But even if it doesn't entirely feel like Scooby-Doo, you can tell the creators wanted to keep the spirit of the cartoon. They use sound effects from the original show multiple times, and there are some callbacks to it which are actually pretty neat. But the story is still pretty weak. Just like Trolls 2, it's the go from place to place kind of story. They couldn't even fit Daphne, Fred, and Velma into the story, so they just had them in a subplot, which might be the best part of this movie. Also, a complaint I've seen online about this movie is the jokes are cringy.
You have to pay for Netflix?
Sometimes it can actually be pretty funny. I laughed really hard at the F-bomb joke in the movie. But yeah, they went way too hard with the modern references. And I can see big fans of Scooby-Doo getting really annoyed at this. Well, how are the characters? Well, thankfully, since they're staying true to the original show, outside of the voices, the characters haven't changed all that much. But the ones that aren't Scooby-Doo characters are just really uninteresting. Blue Falcon, who, may I remind you, is a main character in this movie, is just really annoying and is basically just Captain Gorg from the Ratchet & Clank movie. Sometimes his stupidity is just used to extend the plot. Like one time, he makes the characters go to this amusement park, they get attacked by the villain, they escape, and then the plot just forgets about that. It's never brought up again, and it's kind of pointless when you think about it. He also has an assistant and a robot dog. The assistant is just kind of there. She's not bad, she just doesn't do anything. But the robot dog was pretty funny, and he's probably my favorite character in the movie. Dick Dastardly is also a pretty funny villain.
Dick.
Also, the animation is actually really good. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first saw it because it looked a little too cartoony for 3D. But after a while, I got used to it, and I actually like it now. The colors really pop, and they did a good job giving these 2D characters a 3D feel. Though, something that's really distracting for me is that some of the minor and background characters don't fit in at all. You guys remember that terrible Addams Family movie with the putrid-looking background characters? It's kind of like that, but at least the characters in the Addams Family fit with the style they were going for, even if they looked horrible. Here, the minor characters look too realistic and don't fit with the style at all. They look like characters that came out of Mars Needs Moms. A good example of this is Simon Cowell, who is actually a character in this movie. Overall, this is not a bad movie. I actually did have a good time watching it. It's just kind of forgettable. It could have been something really special, but it just turned into a kids movie that kids will love and adults will just think is meh. If you're still stuck in quarantine, then this is not the worst entertainment option, but Avatar came out on Netflix the exact same day this movie came out. That show is 61 episodes, so if you have Netflix, you pretty much have your entertainment covered for the next week or so. I'm gonna give Scoob a 6 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 400 subscribers. And if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch Netflix and work on Terry T the movie.
You have to pay for Netflix?